Meantime, the win of Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani in New York City's mayoral race, in part, seemed to signal a deep discontent with the economic climate. Now, I want to preface this because we are not a political show, but we have to acknowledge that this happened and that there's a reason why this happened with an overwhelming turnout of voters this election. Couple this victory with surging job cuts and new data from Bank of America showing a troubled trend in wage growth, and we're seeing signs of more strain on the consumer. CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman has more on all of this. Steve.
Well, let's see. Bank of America for the first time released anonymous data that it averages up, and it's drawn from its tens of millions of bank accounts showing lower income wages lagging behind the wealthier and lagging behind inflation. Wages for higher income Americans rising by 3.7% in October, 2% for the middle income group, just 1% for lower income Americans. It was the largest gap that the Bank of America Institute had ever recorded. Other data is backing up this divide. Yesterday, the New York Fed's household debt and credit report showed serious delinquency rates for younger age groups. That also corresponds with lower income groups surging this year, in part weighed down by the return of student loan payments, but other types of credit were also pressured. Our CNBC All-America Economic Survey in October showing that lower income Americans see prices rising faster than their wealthier countrymen and are far more pessimistic about their wages rising in the next year. As a group, those making $30,000 or less have become much more pessimistic about the outlook for the economy than those making more than $100,000. You'll remember McDonald's reported recently that visits from lower-income Americans had cratered compared with higher-income visitors. So it's showing up in the economic data. It's showing up in the surveys. It's even showing up at McDonald's. Not surprising, Melissa, to see it showing up in the voting booth.
And the Fed, of course, has talked about this, Steve, but of course, monetary policy is a blunt instrument. So is there any thought that, a decrease in rates will actually help this part of the population specifically?
It'll help some, especially those carrying credit card balance. It'll help those perhaps for first-time home buyers to reach into get that first home, even though sometimes when the mortgage rate comes down, it just ends up increasing the housing price. But certainly some efforts to build a low-income housing would be helpful for this group. And, of course, these tariffs, when you think about tariffs, they end up being, since lower-income Americans spend a larger share of their income on consumable goods, they're actually paying more as a percent than wealthier Americans when it comes to the tariffs.